Shalom, today is January 28th and it's 114 days of the war in Israel. Here we're showing you channel 12 and we'll watch it together, as many Israelis are watching it as well in their living rooms. The summit has ended tonight, not too long ago in Paris, where Israel, together with Egypt and Qatar and America, USA, are working towards bringing an agreement for the release of the hostages. But before that, let's look at the details of the fighting in Khan Yunis, face-to-face between paratroops fighters and terrorists. It's fierce and it's face-to-face. They're finding the Israeli military is finding lots of resistance around Khan Yunis. It's one of the hardest battles in Gaza, the hardest terrain as well. As you know, Israel does have experience in fighting in these kinds of terrain, urban terrain, but Khan Yunis is especially hard. The reporter is saying that this was a chase of the Israeli military soldiers after terrorists that attacked an Israeli tank and then ran into a building where other Israelis were, Israeli soldiers. So it ended well with no casualties on the Israeli side. But in the last few days, Israel has been putting a lot of military pressure in Khan Yunis, and the resistance is high. I guess there's something to fight for there. The terrorists are arrested above the ground and under the ground in the tunnels. Some of them are surrendering to the Israeli military. And some of them are hiding with the civilians that are moving from Khan Yunis to Rafah, which is supposedly a safer place. In the next few days, the assumption is that Israel will complete its control over Khan Yunis. Here the reporter says, we assume that there is something that the terrorists are resisting or fighting for, because there is something important around there, where the guess is the seniors of Hamas underground. And the question, can Israel continue this pressure over Khan Yunis? And can Israel continue to Rafah, to Rafiah, the next city? The Americans are suggesting Israel not to. This reporter, Dana Weiss, is reporting about the summit in Paris. What we understand is that it was a constructive summit, a constructive meeting. And she's saying the success in this meeting is because U.S. President Joe Biden is personally involved. They're saying also because he cares for the hostages, but also because he cares for the normalization with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are ready to negotiation, but they're clarifying that they will negotiate only after the war ends. Here we see in Keren Shalom, one of the crossings where the humanitarian aid enters into Gaza to help supposedly the Gaza citizens. We see the hostage families resisting. We cannot allow any flour going in, not even 1 gram. We did not get any information about our hostages. All of this flour that's coming in is going straight to the Hamas. How can we provide Hamas with food while our hostages, we don't even have information about them? So after a long resistance of the Israeli hostage families, these trucks had to turn around back into Egypt. Well, now for this not to repeat itself, Keren Shalom, that crossing is going to become, at least for next week, a closed military zone, so that this won't have to happen again, that trucks can actually go in. This guy says it's ridiculous that 1 million people are not actually supporting this. Soldiers are dying because we're giving Hamas to eat. We're giving the enemy oxygen. So all the eyes are going to the summit in France, and here are the participants in the summit. It's the head of the CIA, the head of the Mossad, the head of the Shabak in Israel, the Prime Minister of Qatar, and the head of the intelligence in Egypt. So foreign sources say that the agreement seems to come into something solid, as Israel will sustain and pause the fighting for 2 months. But in Israel, they're saying, no, there's no concrete plan, and actually Hamas is withdrawing back and is tightening their conditions. Next is U.S. President Joe Biden announces that 3 U.S. soldiers died in an attack of Iran through an unmanned aerial vehicle that penetrated a U.S. base in Iraq that's joined with other local forces. And 3 U.S. soldiers died, 24 have been injured. We're not sure all will survive the injuries, but we do hope we hope they will. And here it is. This is the map of basically the Middle East. We see here Iraq, Yarden, Jordan, and Syria. And this is where the joint base is, where the U.S. soldiers died. 3 חיילים אמריקאים, 3 U.S. soldiers died from an attack of an Iranian unmanned aerial vehicle. It is very clear that Iran is escalating and trying to involve or drag America into a war. In the past, America dealt quite quietly with these kinds of attacks, but this time the feeling is the U.S. will deal with this differently. Next is the situation of the Palestinians in Gaza, in the Gaza Strip. As they've left once their home, now they're leaving again because Khan Yunis is not safe. They're moving towards Rafah. And the feeling of just everything destroyed and nothing is safe is causing residents or the citizens of the Gaza Strip to turn against Hamas, against Sinwar, the leader of Hamas in Gaza. Here they are screaming and yelling against Hamas. So now, after Hamas has seen these pictures of their people going out and demonstrating against them, they're trying to buy back the faithfulness of the Palestinians with cash, with money, 200 shekels, which is equivalent to roughly 50, 60 US dollars, to maintain their faithfulness. Here we see a 200 shekel bill. And the reporter is saying that, yes, if there will be no hostage agreement, Israel is supposed to continue over to the city of Rafah and to enclose that one actually through Egypt as a safer way. But if there is an agreement, hostage agreement, the Rafah operation will be postponed, will be delayed. And to remind you, there are 1.4 million Palestinian citizens or refugees in Rafah, and many of them are refugees from other parts of the Gaza Strip. Next is the story about UNRA, which is the UN relief and work agency that helps specifically Palestinians in the Middle East. As more and more details come out, it seems like UNRWA was part of the massacre, the brutal massacre that happened on October 7th. And countries are withdrawing their donations and their help and their funding to UNRWA. So the US, which is #1 funder, has pulled out. Germany, Scotland, now France is saying that they're pulling out. And sources in UNRWA say that there is a real danger for the organization. And this is like a punishment that's hurting 2 million Gaza Gazan people. And for many years, as UNRWA has started since 1949, it was established back then, Israel fought so many times that UNRWA will get its funding to help the Palestinians in Gaza. But now Israel will have to change its way to show who UNRWA really is. So as truth is coming out, Israel will have to reconsider its operation or relations to UNRWA. So the reporter is saying the test is really not on UNRWA, but on Israel, because Israel is the only one that can be the game changer. So for more updates and stories, please visit us on allisrael.com and follow us on social media. Like this video if you liked it. Please share it with your friends. This war is impacting all of the citizens of Israel in different ways, in different measures. Thank you for standing with Israel. This is Rotem Magen for All Israel News.